Hi there, I'm Frederick Viner, composer pianist, and in this video we're going to be exploring even more 300 IQ moments in piano music. I'm really lucky to be joined by some wonderful guest pianists who are going to share some picks of their own. If you enjoy this video, be sure to check out their channels and part 1, which can all be found in the video description. So without further ado, let's kick things off with the magnificent Ben Laude.
Hello everyone, this is Ben Laude, and I'm so thrilled to be appearing here on Frederick Viner's channel, talking about one of my favorite little pieces of Alexander Scriabin, the D-flat major prelude, opus 11, number 15. Now, for me, this is one of the great examples of a sad major key piece. And what's particularly genius about it is Scriabin somehow pulls off a miracle. He's able to write a piece of music in a major key that's so sad without ever leaving the notes of the major scale. There's 7 tones in D-flat major, and then we bring it to a close on the 8th, and that's a pretty bright and optimistic set of notes. Usually when other composers write sad pieces in major, they utilize and draw from the chromatic scale tones. For example, Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat, opus 9, number 2. Right there in the first bar, right? He's delivering a B natural, which doesn't belong to E-flat major's scale set. So how does Scriabin manage to just use the notes of D-flat major, go 28 bars, never leave them, and yet create a piece that's at all times filled with grief and longing and this quiet, painful tenderness? Well, the trick is basically to avoid the primary major triads from the scale, and those would be 1, 4, and 5. So we hear right at the beginning, he's starting the piece with a B flat and a D flat before dipping down to notes that are part of the D flat triad and rocking around until he arrives at a minor third that really belongs to this E flat minor triad, which is the 2 chord. Then he repeats himself up a tone, and he finds his way to another 2 notes from the D flat major triad, but again it's the F and the A flat. So you don't hear scale degree 1, you just get that lingering minor third sound. And it's this combination of leaning on the minor dimensions of the scale and also his phrase structure where he creates this wandering figuration of 8th notes that then pauses for an entire whole note and then again pauses. He's combining this harmonic instability with this sense of suspended reflection. And with those 2 compositional devices, he's able to create this sense of really tragic wonder, and it just continues like that. Notice even there, when we're given the 1st and 3rd scale degrees of D-flat major, it's always tinged with the pain of the leading tone. So 7 and 1 creates that half step. Never stable or at home or at peace. Right here we could go, but we don't. He leans back up to the same minor third that he began the piece on. And soon what started out as a wandering figuration filled with intervals, mostly thirds, we realize is a kind of accompaniment to a theme that also has no home and is quite hollow. Scale degree 1 and 5, but underneath it is this same searching figuration. And then when we got to this sound, it wasn't combined with our home note, but rather with the leading tone. That's a 3 chord, another minor triad from the diatonic scale set. Notice how many colors there are just with these 7 major scale notes. There's the half step again in the accompaniment. Now, the one little development of this piece is this baritone line, which struggles a bit and pleads a little more, but also never departs from this same spectrum. If it has a home, it's these notes, the same notes we began on. And then finally the piece. Ends with the first cadence 5-1, but the soprano voices do not come home. They don't go, they go up. And we also get these long, suspended whole notes, which really just bring this quiet, introspective moment of grief to an end with what could be a fleeting moment of hope. Maybe it's longer than that. But in any case, nothing was ever resolved. It's more that suddenly there's a feeling of acceptance. This theme, which had once gone somewhere, but didn't find any closure, decides with a kind of sigh to cadence. And even there, nothing could be more sad.
Clair de Lune is one of those massively popular pieces that really deserves its reputation. It's a complete masterclass however you look at it. The multi-layered, richly sonoristic piano writing, the daring chromatic harmony, the heart-rending climaxes, you get the idea. So I suppose you could safely describe the entire piece as 300 IQ. Despite that, I would like to single out a moment which I feel is particularly inspired. In fact, it's just a single note. This dissonant C-flat wasn't there at the start when this material was first presented, but its appearance here towards the end of the piece, after the main sweep of the musical drama, carries deep emotional, harmonic and structural implications. Emotionally, the note tugs somewhere in the chest, an almost painful, yearning voice calling out for resolution. Note how it coincides with the very apex of the theme. The thirds are reaching up to the moon perhaps, and this note seems to pull it back down to earth, attempting to ground it. Maybe it represents the clock bell, signalling the end of the fantasy. Time to wake up. Harmonically, this note represents the flattened seventh, which steers the music almost magnetically towards the subdominant, which is G flat major, the following chord. This is a completely standard harmonic maneuver. However, throughout the work's fantastical central episode, this note features in a not-so-standard way. Firstly, it appears as part of Debussy's arresting chromatic harmonies. Then, it resurfaces as B natural during the work's golden section climax. With the note returning at the end, it's almost as if Debussy's putting it in its proper place, providing for it a traditional, harmonically functional context. Finally, structure. This C-flat heralds the end of the piece. It's not arbitrary that Debussy employs this note in the work's closing passages, as it's something other composers have done, including composers Debussy is known to have admired. The main theme of Chopin's D-flat major nocturne crops up 3 times, and the third and final time ends dramatically on this exact pitch, C-flat. Another example is Chopin's Berceuse, which introduces C-flat at exactly the same point in its structure, percentage-wise, as Clair de Lune. Going back in time to the most famous example, Bach's C major prelude features the flattened 7th right before the piece ends. In Clair de Lune and these other historical examples, the flattened 7th instigates the final cadential process. In all cases, there's a move to a predominant chord, followed by the dominant. In the nocturne, Chopin moves to chord 2, which sets up chord 5. In the Berceuse, it's chord 4, then 5. And it's also 4 followed by 5 in the Bach prelude. Whether Debussy thought of this C-flat as a conscious quotation or allusion to other repertoire, it's impossible to say. What strikes me though is how just one note can say so much about the piece in which it exists, but also possibly about music stretching back decades and even centuries.
The first 8 bars of Chopin's Ballade No. 3 are the most perfect bars in music. The extraordinary sense of balance, the harmony going up to the dominant, followed by the resolution, and back again. It's ever so simple, and how the voices answer one another. Had the piece ended here, you would have said, "That was beautiful, thank you very much." It's a perfect start to the piece that's full of love. It's so affectionate. It may not be as expansive or large scale as No. 1 or No. 4 ballads, but this is my absolute favorite to play. It's a wonderfully constructed piece. There are 2 main subjects. The first subject is what you hear at the opening. The second subject begins with these seductive rocking octaves. And the second subject goes on for a long time. These relate to the rocking octaves. Becomes and it does become very dramatic. In fact, you don't really hear the first subject again after the beautiful opening pages until towards the end of the piece, other than a brief fragment appearing in the tenor part. It's a masterstroke of Chopin. So the first subject kind of disappears from the piece. It's like you become close after getting to know someone, but the person, he or she, disappears from life, and meanwhile another person, the second subject, becomes increasingly more dominant. And towards the end of the piece, the first subject makes her reappearance. This time, the 2 main subjects are combined together. behind this very insistent second subject saying me, me, me. As though from a distant past you hear the first subject. It's like, oh yeah, I remember this. Coming closer and closer. The first subject makes her full appearance, played fortissimo this time. It's like, I've found you. This is the person for me. It's a most ecstatic climax, and even in the ecstasy there's so much pain in it. I love this bit, the elation that gathers.
So there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed these 300 IQ moments in piano music. As ever, I'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions in the comments. Big thanks to Ben and Mami for lending their time and expertise. Be sure to go and subscribe to their channels. And big thanks to you for watching and for supporting this channel. Hope to see you again next time.